family. I taste metal, I taste blood.
We can violently impose our ideas on you.
This is a slow-moving, right-wing coup.
And I understand there's a lot of fucking faggot-ass libertarians out there who badly interpret things, but like when you say you can't apply the NAP to people who don't adhere to the NAP. Well, if they're not adhering to the non-aggression principle, then they're fucking aggressors, and we can throw them out of fucking helicopters. Like, it's not a difficult thing to figure out.
The idea that I have, what I've been sort of pitching about the polygyny thing, is it's a way to save the race and start and use it as a global eugenics program.
At what point do we begin physically removing Democrats and communists to establish and maintain the libertarian social order necessary for our desired meritocracy?
You know, if somebody's not a fucking an adherent to the non-aggression principle, you think of it as like a gentleman's agreement, you know? Like, most of the fucking time, you and I and other fucking people in a society, if we're not fucking punching each other in the face to take their money away. That's shit that happens in your neighborhoods for the most part, right?
If I have to describe myself as what sort of libertarian I am, I would say I'm a Rothbardian Anarcho-Capitalist. Murray Rothbard has an article out by the title of Nations by Consent. And he renounces the idea that you would just be, overrun with people from third world countries. So there's no shortage of difference of opinion between people who would classify themselves as libertarians. But I would go so far as to say that the orthodoxy, if you will, of the libertarian philosophy would be best read from guys like Rothbard and Hoppe.
But still, foundationally, we're the same fucking animals that we've been for thousands of years. What do you mean you think we're beyond this? What do you mean we're beyond? No. Jeremy, all we have to do is take over the White House and the Congress, and then we can violently impose our ideas on you.
And for all my disagreements with the existence of the state apparatus and the way that it operates, I have said, hey, I like this Donald Trump guy. Let's go ahead, build your wall, tell people to stop coming into the country. Let's stop the bleeding here. Because I do not want to, as a guy who does value his freedom, I do not want to be overrun by a civilization that does not value reason, that thinks that violence is a good way to solve problems.
If you see somebody getting ready to throw a tomato, knock the crap out of them, would you? Seriously.
As a matter of fact, I don't think gaining the black vote is important at all. That's something that the Democrats do, and I hate them, and I think they should all be thrown out of fucking helicopters. I don't want to gain the black vote at all. I hope after Donald Trump, exceeds his term limit or whatever, if there's ever another election in the United States, I hope the next Republican presidential candidate is like, fuck off, I don't want you to vote for me. That's what I really hope happens. I started to watch the Greatest Story Never Told. I haven't finished watching it yet. I've been entertaining a house guest, a young lady, as it were. And I was like, hey, would you like to watch a documentary that views Hitler favorably?
To my dear friends who are the true believers in Ron Paul, I admire the work that you've done for liberty, the work that you've done spreading the message of liberty.
Like, I can't think of a better motive for murder than political ideologies. I'm a former drug dealer. I get along, pretty okay, as it were, because I'm not like some... I don't behave like a street criminal animal, run around with my fucking grill all out, and a fucking, I keep my gun in a proper holster and not like hanging out of the fucking waistband of my pants, which are halfway around my ass.
It's like, if you listen to the first time I was on the show, right? I did not get the Jew thing. Like I thought of Jews as white people with bad ideas, right? And I didn't even know, I had no idea that Karl Marx was a Jew. I had never associated Jews with communism, right? And it was like the second that I made that connection, I was like, they all have to die. Because I've hated leftists. Like, I was like,
as a prank.
Like, I'm not even a Hitlerite, but I'm like, okay, let's fucking gas the kikes and have a race war. Because once I realized that they were responsible for the communism, then I was like, oh, wait a second. Yeah, that's a fucking really good reason to fucking genocide a group of people.
That's kind of what happened to me, because, like, I was so hardcore, like, hating all the communist ideas. As soon as I found out that, like, the only people that actually fought the communists were the Nazis, I was like, fuck it, get my black sun tattoo ready, boys.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that, right? Because I was just saying on the show a few days ago that, like, I'm conflicted, because you say I used to be a libertarian. The truth of the matter is, like, foundationally, I still believe in the libertarian ideals, right? Like, that's the type of world that I want to live in. So, like, I really generally don't consider myself a Nazi or whatever. But the position that I'm in is like, okay, like if I'm a libertarian, then my greatest enemy is communism. And sadly, the libertarians are not fighting the communists. If I have to choose between the Nazis and the communists, then I will get a fucking swastika tattoo on my chest and I will fucking curb stomp Negroes.
You see the fear of radicalism and of Bolshevism time and time again being articulated, but I think it's important to understand that it's not a fear of real radicalism or real communism or real socialism or real subversion. It's what Frank Donner in The Age of Surveillance calls a Manichaean construct. It's a paranoid, hyperbolic fear of what is perceived to be communist.
The worst fucking thing Hitler did was allow his communists to emigrate here.
And one of the things I've talked about on here is polygyny a little bit, right? I'm saying, okay, do the white Sharia thing to save the white race.
I would encourage you to check out the most recent episode of Some Garbage Podcast, where we were talking about a man in Keene, affectionately referred to as the dog effer, and we don't use effer on Some Garbage Podcast. We say it full blown. And so there was a situation where a guy was, having sex with his animals, and supposedly, the story was that his animals were into it. He flirted with them. It's his dog. What am I supposed to say? It's I have sex with objects that I own. Why can't he have sex with an animal that he does?
We're like, kill the communists, Donald. Come on. Remove kebab. Do it, Donald.
Jewish influence disarms us in the left onslaught of identity politics. Our universities teach little more than the propaganda of our enemies to our children, and we are compelled to subsidize it all with our own earnings.
Right? I just have to look out for my interests. And sadly, you're putting me in this position where the best thing that I can do is elect a president who will throw you out of a helicopter.
And so I think that liberals have made common cause with libertarians in a lot of cases over social issues and that sort of thing. And for that reason, we've been sort of overrun with leftists, essentially, who are in libertarian social circles because it's a place for them to be big fish in a little pond and that sort of thing. But these are not intellectual people who really understand the philosophy of libertarianism as has been laid out by the actual intellectuals who laid out the philosophy. So when we talk about, immigration, for example, the idea that we're supposed to have open borders, well, that's not the ideas that were laid out by Murray Rothbard or Hans Hoppe. Mm-hmm. We're talking about a private property society where borders are the whole point. I don't think it's a coincidence that most libertarians are white males. I think that they should, sort of embrace that and cater to their demographic instead of jumping on board with this whole, white male privilege nonsense.
We will be scrubbed from the historical record. Inside of a generation, it will be as though we never existed, other than as some false historical narrative like Hitler's Germany. Pick one, or the communists will make the decision on your behalf.
A guy by the name of Stefan Molyneux is a content producer I'm a big fan of, and he put out a video about race and IQ. And it was an honest intellectual inquiry into the subject. I thought it was very scientific.
The problem with the angry black man, you might have heard, black man, is that you fucking animals have this fucking really nasty habit of murdering people in staggering numbers from coast to coast.
I happen to know the facts. Now, friends, I'm just an average American. But I'm an American. And some of the things I see in this country of ours make my blood boil. I see people with foreign money. I see Negroes holding jobs that belong to me and you. Now I ask you, if we allow this thing to go on, what's going to become of us real Americans?
I've heard this kind of talk before, but I never expected to hear it in America.
This fellow seems to know what he's talking about. What are we real Americans going to do about it? You'll find it right here in this little pamphlet. The truth about Negroes and foreigners. The truth about the Catholic Church.
Do you believe in that kind of talk?
That all makes pretty good sense to me. And I tell you, friends, we'll never be able to call this country our own until it's a country without. Without what? Yeah, without what? Without Negroes. Without alien foreigners. Without Catholics. Without Freemasons. You know these things.
What's wrong with the Masons? I'm a Mason. Hey, that fellow's talking about me. And that makes a difference, doesn't it?
These are your enemies. These are the people who are trying to take over our country. Now you know them. You know what they stand for. And it's up to you and me to fight them. Fight them and destroy them before they destroy us.
At what point do we begin physically removing Democrats and communists to establish and maintain the libertarian social order necessary for our desired meritocracy?
Before he said Masons, you were ready to agree with him.
Well, yes, but he was talking about, what about those other people?
But in this country, we have no other people. We are American people.
What about you? You aren't American, are you?
I was born in Hungary, but now I am an American citizen. And I have seen what this kind of talk can do. I saw it in Berlin.
What were you doing there?
I was a professor at the university. I heard the same words we have heard today. But I was a fool then. I thought Nazis were crazy people, stupid fanatics. But unfortunately, it was not so. You see, they knew that they were not strong enough to conquer a unified country. So they split Germany into small groups. They used prejudice as a practical weapon to cripple the nation. Of course, that was not easy to do. They had to work hard to do it. You see, we human beings are not born with prejudices. Always they are made for us. Made by someone who wants something. Remember that when you hear this kind of talk.
I saw it first in Berlin in 1932. 5 young men that I knew were standing in the crowd listening to the Nazi speaker. Eric was a Catholic. Anton, a student of mine, was a Jew. Heinrich owned a small hardware store. Karl was a farmer. And Hans was an unemployed metal worker.
To all Bavarian Germans, I say it is time you inherited the nation which rightfully belongs to you. To you alone belongs the glorious destiny of the Greater Germany. The Nazi Party will provide land for the farmer, work for the worker, and profit for the small businessman. Who is getting these things now? The Jew. The Jew who has stolen our nation and our birthright. Who makes all the money and takes all our jobs? The Jew! He must be shunned. He must be ostracized. He must be eliminated. And the Catholics. We don't want our great nation run by a foreign church. We Germans will know what to do with these people when the time comes. They and their faith must be destroyed. Then there are the Freemasons. In Germany, we have no place for secret societies. There will be only one society, and that is the Nazi Party. There will be no secrecy about that in the new Greater Germany.
One by one, he attacked each minority and he split them off one from the other. These men were all fellow Germans when they came here today. Now they were split into rival groups, suspicious of each other, hating each other. They were being swindled, all of them. But the man who was really being fooled was Hans. He was pure German, according to Nazi standards. To him they promised everything, and he fell for it.
What'd you say? Yeah, chimp. Fucking nigger right here with a fucking mop on his head.
You better get out of here. You better get out of here.
I don't give a fuck. He's milking my fucking tax dollars.
You better get out.
I don't give a fuck what you have to say.
Oh, really? Well, that's because
lazy
you're stupid.
fucker. I'm stupid. I actually want people to have a fucking job. You go ahead and sit on your fucking chair, be a lazy fucking nothing. Oh, you ain't taking it.
We are peaceful. We do not need your antagonism. Bye.
Peaceful.
So long.
Fucking lazy monkeys. Maybe the 10th one I've seen in my life, too. They all look the same to me.
I need a Pinochet. I need a Pinochet. Free up all the markets tonight. Privatize industry, open up trade, and sentence the leftists to die.